I was actually supposed to be on a flight, but my flight got canceled. That's a whole nother story. We'll have to get into that another time. But I have about 10 minutes to myself, so I figured I would come on here and just give you guys some life updates. So the last time you saw me, I was taking a pregnancy test in Mexico. That was positive. This time you're seeing me, life has changed. So what has happened? So that Monday, July 29th, was the day that I took the pregnancy test. It was positive. I actually ended up getting in to see my doctor, my OB, who's across state lines, like 2 days later to do preliminary, just blood work, just talk really fast about the things that are to come. Pregnancy is a lot, or at least mine was for me, with Levi. So we did all of that. Because I was not sure how far along I was, and my doctor couldn't get me in to get an ultrasound for another 2 weeks, I ended up just going in New York, very close to my house, to like a free services type of clinic where they'll just confirm viability of pregnancy and usually tell you how many weeks you are, etc., etc. So I did that. Come to find out, with this ultrasound, they did find that yes, I was pregnant with a sac, but however, there was no heartbeat. The growth, there was nothing pretty much. There was no embryo that actually started to either grow or possibly had already started disseminating. Like my body has already started to dwindle it down. This is called a silent miscarriage. I have had a miscarriage before. With Levi, well, not with Levi, but I got pregnant right before I got pregnant with Levi, literally a month. I had a miscarriage, and then the next month I got pregnant again, and then that was Levi. That was 4 years ago. So this time, this would be considered, I guess, more of a silent miscarriage, because as of right now, like, I wouldn't have known anything was going on, but it's starting to happen. And because they know that I'm going to, miscarry, pretty much we are going to do a medicated one. Instead of me just waiting and waiting and waiting for my body to just naturally do it, which is what happened the first time. And we don't know when that could happen. We don't know. It could be today. It could be in 3 weeks. They have prescribed me a medication. I think it's called Miscarriage. I will make sure. So that way I can pretty much have it like a medical miscarriage, meaning they're going to the medication then will start the contractions for the uterus to push out the sac and expel the pregnancy. That's the goal. We want to have one nice, easy, I don't want to say nice and easy, because there's nothing nice and easy about a miscarriage. If you've had one, my condolences. If you haven't, I hope you don't. But they hope that the process, by, it being so early, because I was measuring at 7 weeks and 4 days, that because it was, it's still early, obviously, that we would just want one clean pass, and then everything can be out of the uterus, and then go from there. So the first miscarriage I had, which was September 2020, it was like I kind of was cramping the days, like that whole day before, but like little cramps. It was kind of nothing alarming, but it would, like, I felt crampy all day. But then by the middle of the night, like, I was waking up in pain. So now this time they're going to give me a medication to, activate the process. I have read that is more intense than if you do it naturally. But then I've also, after speaking to the doctor and her, like just talking about the different things and options, I feel a little bit better about it. So let's actually talk about how I feel, okay? So the way that I feel And we're probably going to have, I'm planning on having a much longer motherhood conversation because I have so many thoughts about motherhood now that I've become a mom. Feel I'm not devastated or sad about not having the baby, if that makes sense. That doesn't bother me. Not now, not this time. The first time that bothered me. This time, that's not the case. I just feel more like, damn, I gotta go through this again. Like, I have to go through this experience again. The first time, like, everybody knows it's a possibility. It is. It's such a common thing that happens, whether we talk about it or not. But I do think it's a lot less taboo. But, like, okay, so it happens one time, and yeah, it's a possibility to happen again, but like, what are the odds, right? But I guess the odds are very high. But I guess you get what I'm trying to say. I just kind of felt like, I gotta go through this again? Like, really? Why can't this just be easy and simple? But okay. And then the other part after that, I felt, really nervous and scared about the actual physical process because, as I stated, before, my first miscarriage, it was my first pregnancy. So I've never been pregnant before. And so I was in so much pain. I kept going to the bathroom. And the thing is, we had a 6 a.m. flight to our cousin's wedding in Atlanta. So I remember this was about 3. And because I was like, okay, I only have, maybe 1 more hour of sleep. But I was in sleep. And the pain from the cramps that I was feeling woke me up. And I went to the bathroom and I'm wiping. There's no blood, whatever. But I remember it felt like really like, this is about to be TMI, guys. Trigger warning. I will definitely put a trigger warning at the beginning of this video because it is very triggering. But I remember like wiping and it feeling kind of like wet. But now that I'm thinking about it, like maybe a water sac or something. I don't know. But I was no blood. It was nothing. But I was sitting on the toilet and usually I use the bathroom in the dark. I don't want to turn on the light. But I was in so much pain and I could feel like the world was moving, like I was lightheaded. I was starting to sweat. I was trying to I turn on the light and I'm just trying to see straight. And I open the bathroom door, which is connected to the bedroom, and I'm trying to tell Chad, something is wrong. Like, I'm not okay. I do not feel okay. I don't know what's wrong, but I didn't see any blood or anything, so I wasn't thinking of it being a miscarriage at that moment, right? So I remember I was so hot. I was hot, but yet cold. I'm sweating, and I mustered up the energy to get myself from the bathroom to the bed, And when I got to that bed, I remember just squeezing the sheets because my whole body, it felt like if somebody could take the lower half, like from your hip down, and just wring you. That's how I felt like I was being, like, just something was just squeezing like everything out of me, or like having I felt like maybe if somebody had put a chastity belt on me that could just, just keep, if they cranked it and it just kept like closing in on my body, like I could not move. I could not think straight. I remember feeling like, and Chad at this time is calling a nurse line, trying to, like, whatever, what do we do? Or we ended up, because I'm usually a person that I can tolerate pain mostly. I also don't get really up in arms about things. I don't panic like about things right away. Like when it comes to my body, like I can think logically even though something is happening, right? So at this point, Chad's kind of been like, all right, what do you want? Like, what else do we do? Because we're talking to the nurse on the nurse line. And I said, call the ambulance. And he kind of looked at me like, what? Because he knows I'm not one to really get up in arms about things as far as like my health and things. I don't want to say I don't care, but I can think logically and then I'll take the appropriate steps. And I can pretty much tolerate a lot for the most part. So for me to tell him to call the ambulance, that's a big deal to him. But he was on it. He called the ambulance. It felt like it took a while. But he was like, do you want me, like, he asked, he was like, are you sure you want me to call the ambulance? I can get, like, we can go get in the car and get to the, and get to the hospital. But I was like, I can't even put my foot on the ground. Like, it seemed worlds away to be able to even move. And I live in New York, honey. So at the time, we was on the 3rd floor walk up, and him trying to carry me down 3 flights of steps while I'm going through pain. He could do it. But no, it just, get them people up in this house and tell me what to do. They need to figure it out. So yes, we decided on calling an ambulance. And quite frankly, that intense pain probably lasted, I couldn't even tell you. I couldn't even tell you how long it was. I just remember that eventually it just stopped. It stopped. And it stopped before the ambulance people got there. I had taken some medicine before it got too intense. So I had started thinking like, oh, I guess the medicine must have kicked in. But I ain't take that much medicine for the pain that I was in to the amount of milligrams that I took. It wasn't going to knock it like that. But I'll take it, honey. I'll take it. I still got a flight to catch. So I went to the bathroom. I wiped. I remember it was not even a real wipe of blood, like nothing. But I remember I saved the tissue for the medical personnel because the color of blood on a tissue matters for things, right? But it really wasn't anything, like maybe like a drop. So whatever, like a spot, So nothing was for me to again think, okay, was this a miscarriage? Again, this is my first pregnancy, so I don't know what it feels like to be pregnant. I don't know what's normal and what's not normal. So they got the ambulance, the EMTs come, 2 men. We talk it out. At this point in time, I'm coherent. I feel better. I just feel like a little tired. And they were like, I think they checked my blood pressure. They were like, to be honest, like, you're fine. And they were like, yeah, pregnancy, a lot of weird things can happen in pregnancy. So to be honest, this is probably one of those weird things. That's what these people told me. And I was like, okay. Like, this is what this is. Okay. And they were like, yeah, you're fine. Like, if you're not, like, you're not bleeding out or nothing. Yeah, we don't have to take you. You're good. I'm like, okay. I'm gonna go get on my flight. And then we got on our flight. Like, we left in an Uber. We were only 15 minutes from the airport. It's now about 4:35. It's probably about 5 a.m. because I think our flight was at 6:30. 5:30 now. And we get to the airport and I was just really lethargic. And I remember telling Chad right when we got through security, like, if this is how pregnancy is, I don't know how I'm going to make it, because that was intense and crazy. And then I was like, I have to go to the bathroom. And when I went to the airport bathroom, that's when all of it all happened. Everything just came out. One gush, pretty much. All the tissue, all the things. And then I knew what it was. And so I carried on as per usual. I didn't tell Chad until we boarded the plane. I text my cousin who's in OBGYN in Florida. Thanks, Sharon. She's great. And, oh, wait, hold on. This is Chad. He's coming to pick me up. You did. I'm going to come down now? Okay. All right. See you soon. Bye. To kind of tell her the event of what just happened. And I was like, yeah, that was a miscarriage for sure. Like, everything came out. And so we flew from New York to Atlanta. This is during COVID time. As soon as we landed in Atlanta, I went to the hospital, directly to Grady Hospital. Because it was COVID, I had to go by myself because they didn't allow anybody to come in to the, hospital, like no visitors at the moment. Or maybe only if you were having a child, I don't know. So I went to the hospital in Atlanta. I was there for 7 hours. 7 hours. All day. The nurse that took care of me was so great, and I can't even remember her name right now, but I know I saved the paperwork because I owe her some pictures. But she took good care of me all day. They had to do a pap smear and a sonogram. They confirmed that everything had came out. All the tissue was expelled, which is really good. You don't want to have anything left because then that creates further complications. And she was like, you're good to go. I was like, that's it? She was like, yeah, that's it. You can go just live life as normal. You can, once you stop, you'll probably bleed a little bit more for the next couple of days. You can mark that pretty much as your period, the start of your period. And then you can just continue on life as usual. They were great, but that's pretty much this is how life is, I guess. You just go on no matter what's happening. So what the nurse also did tell me, she was like, I really have to find her name. It's been 4 years, but she was like, so many women have miscarriages. She's like, I also had a miscarriage on a plane. Though she says I was in that bathroom and she was like, I was just going through it, and I did keep the door unlocked, and I told the flight attendants, look, I just got to get through this. They knew, but she was like, that was the worst. And then, it was over in, maybe 40 minutes to an hour or whatever, and then you go and you keep living life. And it was after this experience that, as I would tell people, like my therapist, I had spoken to my therapist about it, and then she opened up and was like, yep, I had a miscarriage too, and then I got pregnant like within another 3 months, blah, 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 blah. And it's just, it happens. It really happens. I was a lot more heartbroken the first time around for sure, because it was my first pregnancy, my first rodeo. I really wanted that baby, and it seemed like everybody around me was pregnant, and I'm just like, why? And then it gets scary because you're like, I want a baby. I've never had a baby, so can I have a baby? Is this going to be a thing, or is this just a one-time thing, But this time around, I have a baby. And more on the thoughts of motherhood, and we'll have that conversation more just so we can get to know each other more. But I have a child, and I am very okay with having only one child if that is what is to be meant for me. And I've already been okay with that before I found out I was pregnant, before Chad and I have talked about, like, are we going to have another kid? Like, those are the things. So I'm okay with just Levi. Preferably Levi plus another. But this time around, that's not what breaks my heart at all. I'm not brokenhearted. I'm more like, I gotta go through this again. And maybe it's a little self-pity because it's like, fuck, why? But I also understand that other women have, and this is not to diminish my experience or anybody else's experience, because all childbirthing and child rearing experiences it's a lot. It's a lot. I wish safe and boring pregnancies for everyone. But the truth of the matter is that's not really the case for a lot of women. It takes things, and a lot goes into making another human and bringing life, really, like from the heavens. You're literally the portal from another realm to this one. So it's not always easy. And I just take this as, this could be, I could have a more serious complication that makes this harder for me. For me, at least, I know I can get pregnant and hold a pregnancy and things like that. This experience isn't fun or nice, but I at least have that. And, it always makes me think of women who have to go through IVF, or who have to go through so many procedures and surgeries and medications and this, and it's a lot. And so I'm grateful that I can. But I do have to go through the physical process, and I gotta go now. A little TMI, a little bit of graphic detail, but I think it's good for others to know, for those who want to either educate themselves or who may be going through a similar situation or about to go through a similar situation. What did I do as far as doing the medicated miscarriage, how I managed it, and how I managed the pain? So I have had 2 miscarriages.